Stop Now, a social experiment enterprise. Stop, listen, share. Everyone can make a difference. We are. Everyone should do something greater in their lifetime. Future. Be a proud member. Join us to support, volunteer, and donate. Stop Now.
Welcome to Stop Now. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Nate. And together we are your hosts for this week's talk show.
We are bringing you interesting news updates and true stories from all around the world.
But before we go ahead with that, Melissa, let me just remind the listeners about our live YouTube talk shows coming soon on every Sunday between 2:30 and 3:30 p.m. Central Time. So if you want to share your story with us or need answers from experts, this is the place to do it.
You can visit our website, www.stop-now.org. Now, here are some of this week's news headlines.
To begin with, an update on COVID-19. And there are some things that you folks need to know. As of the first week of September 2020, the total number of COVID 6 this state census alone.
Yes, not.
Melissa, to the virus. Do you know?
Well, COVID-19 is known to spread through close person-to-person contact. You should be careful how close you stand to people in queues, on transport, and whilst you're out eating and drinking.
Okay, and I don't want to get into a hot button topic here, but do masks help?
Masks are an important way to protect yourself and others. Yes, if you wear a mask and socially distance from others, you will vastly decrease the likelihood of the virus spreading.
Okay, and is there any way of telling if you've got it? I mean, we are in the middle of cold and flu season, so surely, Melissa, I could have a normal cold without actually having the virus, correct?
You could. However, the best thing to do if you show signs of any symptoms is to stay away from people as much as possible. Main symptoms of COVID-19 are a high temperature, a continuous cough, and a loss of your sense and smell and taste. If you begin feeling really ill, you must contact a medical expert immediately.
Well, that is certainly some very helpful information right there. Thank you, Melissa.
That's okay. It's important to stay safe. Now, we must move swiftly on to our next topic. Today, we're going to discuss the struggle over getting help from the justice system.
Now, why might someone need help from the justice system?
The justice system is there to protect everyone. Remember that. If someone is being unfairly treated to the point this treatment becomes illegal, it is the justice system's duty to step in and stop this.
So what you're saying is the justice system keeps things fair?
Fair, yes, and ideally moral.
Well, it doesn't seem very moral if there's any sort of struggle involved with this process.
You're right, Nate. It's not. But when things are wrong, it is our job to draw attention to them.
Okay, well, let's highlight some news stories related to this issue then.
When you think of slavery, Nate, what do you think of?
I think of, the War of Independence. I think of, Abraham Lincoln, things like that.
So you think of things that happened a long time ago?
Yeah, I suppose I do.
Well, I'm afraid to tell you that modern day slavery is alive and well, and the justice system seems to be doing very little about it. Human trafficking is reported to be rife all around the world, and many of these cases are tied to the US and Europe. It seems no one is being held accountable.
That doesn't sound good at all.
It isn't. This is particularly highlighted in the Thai seafood industry. We have been made aware by some news stories and personal testimonies that the industry functions on forced labor, life-threatening conditions, and violence. And this all leads to the fish we buy and consume in our own U.S. supermarkets.
Wow. I never knew that.
No, most people don't.
Well, have we heard from anyone involved in one of these awful stories about these awful conditions?
One brave man, freed last month from his slave ship by Indonesian authorities, come forward to tell his story. His name is Samad Sinasuk. Samad left his job as a security guard in Bangkok after being promised decent wages and a better life for working as a fisherman. However, this was not to be. Samad intended to spend 1 year as a fisherman. 6 years later, he was still on the boat, having been subjected to 20-hour-a-day in inhumane working conditions.
That poor man, that sounds horrendous. And no one deserves to be treated like that, But at least it sounds like the authorities were able to help in the end, right?
Yes, Nate, but that's not the point. Many people trafficking workers onto the Thai fishing boats are not being prosecuted. And there are cases of slavery happening in our own country that the justice system are still doing nothing about.
I heard a little bit about the Signal case.
Yes, that's partly what I'm talking about. What do you know?
Well, I know that Signal is a large U.S. maritime services company, right?
Yep.
And they were, in trouble for treating their workers poorly.
Yes, they were. In fact, Signal were sued in U.S. federal courts by hundreds of Indian skilled workers. It took a long time, but eventually Signal admitted they were wrong to a $20 million settlement.
Well, it's likely we only hear about the cases where the justice system has stepped in, though, isn't it?
Exactly, Nate. What I can tell you is the number of people living in modern slavery conditions in the U.S. is currently estimated to be is 400,000. The justice
Wow.
system's failure to bring criminal charges against the perpetrators is only impounding and perpetrating the problem.
Well, what more can the justice system do?
It has been said by many trusted lawyers working pro bono.
Pro bono.
That means for free. These are people working on the cases because they care, but we need more of them, lots more. Anyway, these lawyers claim more strategic litigation.
So, hold on, sorry. You might have to explain that one too. Strategic litigation. What do you mean by that?
Oh, yes. Strategic litigation is essentially the practice of bringing lawsuits intended to affect societal change.
Oh, okay. I see.
So many trusted and informed people believe that more strategic litigation on the practice of the justice system will go a long way to sorting the problem out. It not only deters human traffickers, but also the ability to restore dignity and wages to those once subjected to forced labor.
Well, it sounds like the justice system can do a lot more than they're currently doing.
They definitely can.
So, for the people that don't work in the justice system, is there any way that we all can help?
You can listen in stories, Nate, of course. It's so important to listen to people who are struggling to be heard. This way, we begin to understand the problem and understand the best way of aiding the victim.
Well, I'm sure a lot of the listeners won't be able to look at the supermarket fish the same until these sorts of injustices are finally sorted out.
Nor should you. Likewise, we plan to list the name of the company, the law, and try to suppress the victim legal system.
Okay, so you mean to say that we're going to these companies on our...
Yes, Nate.
Okay, great idea time, Melissa. Certainly hope on this topic and other topics in the upcoming episodes.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned to our show and watch out for our next week's story.
Thank you all. Be safe and keep listening.
Don't forget to join us to support, volunteer, and donate. Visit us to learn more about our foundation and be a proud member of Stop Now.
This week's show was sponsored by USAA. Stop Now, a social experiment enterprise. Stop, listen, share. Everyone can make a difference. We are on a mission. Everyone should do something greater in their lifetime. Change the future. Be a proud member. Join us to support Volunteer at wnow.org.